Diablo 4 has certainly become an addiction for me over the last month or so. And I'm talking about that one more level type of addiction that leads to 8 more hours of playing and you lose track of time and sleep. Do I regret any of this? Absolutely not. Diablo 4 has had its hooks in me, and the game is in such a great state right now. If you're looking to dive into the ARPG, then I think it's the perfect time to do so. So today, I want to discuss why Diablo 4 is worth playing now. I initially enjoyed the launch of Diablo 4, and I played roughly 2 seasons or so before I checked out around 1 year ago. And I jumped back into the game about a month ago with Season 5 to see many of the game's overhauls, and that addiction that I'm talking about started to seep in. And it was only enhanced further by the launch of Vessel of Hatred just last week. Vessel of Hatred includes a whole host of new things added to the game, a new class, campaign expansion, new zone to explore, 2 new endgame activities, the Undercity and the Dark Citadel, aka raids, but it's also been coupled with many overhauls to systems in the game, such as the difficulty system, the leveling system and Paragon overhaul, and other features such like a party finder and small tweaks to balances, classes, the general stuff that you get when a new expansion launches. Many of the changes are very welcome additions and are so much better than the launch of the game, and I want to talk about them. But first, let's go over the Vessel of Hatred expansion. Vessel of Hatred follows on from the events of the base game story and dives into the corruption that we had from a choice that was made at the end of the campaign. We go to the new region Nahatu, which is this dark jungle biome that has these rocky valleys. It's corrupted a lot of places due to the story, and there is a lot of verticality here, so it kind of feels dense, but also you're kind of diving deeper into the jungle, finding these caverns and stuff. It's a really nice area. I won't talk about story spoilers, but it was a great experience going through the campaign. There are some stellar in-game cutscenes and the pre-rendered ones that they make. Blizzard always seem to kill it with these cutscenes whenever they're doing trailers or in-game, and I think they're very, very good at making the story at least impactful. From the way that they tell the story, it's just a lot of dialogue boxes on the bottom of the screen, but the cutscenes are most definitely the best part. With the expansion, we get to see the new class, the Spiritborn. It's a concept that revolves around 4 spirit animals, the gorilla, the jaguar, the centipede, and the eagle, all having their own mixture of playstyles. We have more movement-based stuff, more survivability, incredible damage, fire, electricity, poison. There's a lot of things that you can mess around with here, and honestly, after playing with it, it's a lot better than the Druid, which I've played a lot of hours in already. It just does everything that the Druid does a lot better, which is a little bit of a shame, but obviously the class is in the game to sell the expansion, and having played 25 hours or so with the class, it's 100% overtuned, and I can expect them to do a balance patch addressing that in future. But the build that I was using is particularly busted and fun, because that's what we like to do in ARPGs. I liked the Spiritborn the most, even though I've only played one of the setups. From all of the different builds that I've seen, there is a variety available of what is top picks. That may change in future, but I think it's very well rounded as opposed to a lot of the other classes in the game, and I hope that Blizzard can make balance changes or overhaul some of the classes in the future to make it feel more in line to how they're doing it with the Spiritborn. But if this is the direction that they're going with the new classes, then I'll definitely be excited for the next one. I'm hoping for like a holy damage type of character, like a paladin type thing would be pretty cool, like one of the knights that kind of you can use to call down smites and stuff. I think that would be a nice addition to the game. Using the Spiritborn, I used the Quill Volley build that you are seeing on screen, and that allowed me to go into 2 of the new endgame activities that you get after completing the campaign, the Undercity and the Dark Citadel, which is Diablo's look at raids in the game. Talking about the Undercity first though, this is essentially a time attack mode where you fill up a meter of attunement whilst killing enemies to extend the timer. Reaching tier 4 gives you the maximum amount of rewards that you can get. You can go in, nuke the boss, and get a whole bunch of rewards. This is both challenging and rewarding as it drops many different materials that you need. It drops you items on higher difficulties. It has a chance of dropping mythics, I think, from what I've seen. And you can focus the rewards that you want to get using the tribute system in the game that is attached to the Undercity. So if you need more boss materials, you can go and do that. If you need more crafting materials, you can use that as well. So it essentially gives you the ability to target farm things that you want, which is a nice addition to the game. Then we have the Dark Citadel, which is my personal highlight of the expansion. A 2 to 4 player raid activity where you have both challenges in terms of gameplay with the build that you're using, and it introduces mechanics into the game. Now, if you are a solo player, don't worry, there is a party finder system into the game where you can go in, and I did this with no comms. I just had like the text chat when I was playing on PC that I could type in, but you could do this without the explicit need to be in voice comms and such. So if you want to go in this as a solo player, you only need to have 2 players or just one friend that you can jump into and have a blast. The Dark Citadel is split into 3 wings that each have their own boss at the end, and then you get a big reward cache for killing the boss and also a big reward for finishing the Dark Citadel on that week. And there's a lot of things that you can go and chase here on higher difficulties. There's an exclusive cosmetics there for doing it on Torment 4, which is the highest difficulty in the game. There's also some specific item drops that can come here. You can get uniques from this as well. It's really rewarding and one of the most satisfying experiences I've played in a game, and I really love more games doing more casual approaches to raids. These 2 modes add a variety in gameplay, which is really nice, and it adds to the catalogue of endgame activities that have been added to the game since launch. Because at launch, all we had was Helltide, Nightmare Dungeons, and the Uber Lilith fight. But now we have Helltide, the Pit, Nightmare Dungeons, Infernal Hordes, Uber bosses, which have their own Torment variant as well, and then obviously the Dark Citadel and the Undercity. And the thing that I like about it is they offer different gameplay types. If you want to go and fight some bosses and have a bit of a challenge there, you can, and set your build up differently. If you want to just zip around doing Infernal Hordes, they're insane, the amount of enemies that come on the screen and the things that you can do with your build. There's also the Pit, which really pushes difficulty and how well your build is put together. And if you can get to, like, I think the new Pit level is 200 in the game right now, then that's like the best of the best and cracked. But you don't have to do that. These activities are just there to play at the different difficulties that you have, which I suppose I can talk about right now. The way that the difficulty system works in the game is so much better and easier to follow. Once you reach level 60, you will then access the Pit. Once you then do the Pit, you can do the different ranks, get the gear, until you are able to unlock Torment 1 difficulty. Here is where Ancestrals will drop, and every other item in the game. You don't have to go and do Torment 2, 3, or 4. That's just for the people that really want to push their builds and like get all the way up to the new Paragon level 300. All of these activities in the game right now are extremely rewarding as well, which is a common theme throughout the expansion as opposed to what the base game was at launch. I know we got quite a lot of rewards, but yeah, when we look at the itemization in the game as well, you can see why it's a lot better too. And I mean, completing the Tree of Whispers, if you go and do one of them now, the amount of materials and loot and stuff that just pops out, you just sat there for about 10 seconds just watching the loot on screen, and it's just like, yeah, monkey brain likes what I'm seeing. When you are doing a lot of these activities, you will obviously be earning XP, which leads us into talking about the new leveling system. It's so much better and easier to follow now. You go from 1 to 60, which is you get your skill points, you build out your class, and then there's 300 Paragon levels that you can go and grind. I like the more streamlined sense of just get to 1 to 60 and then you have 1 to 300 levels on top of that. Before, you went from 1 to 50 and then you had another 50 levels of Paragon, but there was like 4 points in there. Now it's just you go all the way up to level 300 on your Paragon board. Not everybody will hit it. I don't think I will actually hit it unless I really grind over the next month or so, but you don't have to. And there's a lot of XP sources in the game that allow you to do that. But what makes it a lot better is how you go about it. Before, you used to have the capstone dungeon to go through the world tiers. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You just need to go to level 60, unlock the pit, do Torment 1, and stay on Torment 1 for the entire time. You can go and do Torment 2, 3, and 4, and the difficulties definitely ramp up, but you get more XP, you get more chance of drops that you may potentially need, a higher drop rate, and you also get more ancestrals that you can get on those difficulties, but you still have the access to that all on Torment 1. So there's a blend of casual and also being able to, satisfy the hardcore players as well. The Paragon system itself has been overhauled in a sense. It means now that there's 5 total boards that you can select, but each of them has more nodes on it. There's an extra 100 levels than what we had previously, and it means each of the boards that you use can be utilized better. There's legendary nodes, there's more magic nodes, and there's more stats that you can pull from. It's kind of getting into the weeds of the end game and build crafting and stuff, but essentially they've condensed it but given us more in that condensed state, which is nice. The last key overhaul came in Season 4 and has only been expanded as we go into the newer seasons and with this expansion, and that's to do with itemization and making your interactions with gear more meaningful. Not only did they add every aspect that you get when you salvage it, it goes into your collection for the season that you can pull from at any time. You don't have to keep all of your aspects on you to fill up your inventory space, which is rather annoying. Now, anytime you salvage something that's a lot higher, but it's on a piece of gear you don't want, that higher value can be pulled out at any point and slapped on a piece of gear. They squish down a lot of the stats as well to make it much easier to determine what you are looking for in a piece of gear. There's 3 main stats that you are looking for whenever you're trying to build out a piece of gear, and once you've got those, you can then further enhance your piece of gear by tempering it. You can find tempering recipes, which are these manuals that you find out in the world. You redeem them and then they go into the blacksmith, and then you roll affixes onto your piece of gear like crowd control damage or eagle damage, but you can only do this a certain amount of times, which means that you need to get materials. You need to make sure that you obviously invest in a piece of gear. You may not always get that perfect piece of gear that you want, but when it does drop and it all comes together, it is really satisfying. Rather than being reliant on 100% RNG that we had in the past, every change that they made to the itemization has addressed particular pain points in the game that I had. It makes everything that you do in the game much more meaningful with your gear. It's way more satisfying to get that perfect piece of gear with greater affixes on them and then go and temper them and get perfect rolls there, and then you get that material drop that you need from a specific boss to then enhance your gear even further, and then maybe you'll get a mythic unique drop with greater affixes. It's just a lot of fun now with the itemization in the game. They made the loot game feel good. But let's ask the question, why do I think it's the best time to come back to Diablo 4 right now? I think the game is in a great state, and I come back to the word fun a lot because it's in every aspect of the game. Player progression is significantly improved, offering a great gear chase, streamlined and quicker leveling, and an overhauled difficulty system that offers both challenge and choice. Not to mention all of the endgame activities that you can test your builds on and the different gameplay that you can use. All of the classes in the game offer a unique brand of gameplay. You have the more minion-focused Necromancer, or you can play as the Spiritborn. I've only played with 3 of the classes at the moment, and I've had fun on all of them with the Necromancer, the Spiritborn, and the Druid. I've also dabbled a little bit in the Sorcerer, but not as much, and all of them are great. Diablo 4 in many ways is a gateway to the RPG genre, and I think it's the perfect game to kind of introduce someone to the genre, and I think in the state that it's hit right now is a very good jumping on point, especially with the new expansion. There are games such as Path of Exile and Last Epoch which have deeper systems that you can get into, but for me, Diablo offers a simplicity, a taste of the genre, and I'm definitely going to try out those other games to see if I enjoy it even further, because I'm just addicted to Diablo right now. I think it does need improvements going forward, but I'm definitely not the most qualified in talking about this. I think some players that have played the game for a longer time would be able to tell you. I'm just coming at this from a more casual perspective. You can sink a good 50 to 100 hours into this and keep coming back every so often, like I have with Diablo 4, and I definitely think it's worth playing right now, especially the Vessel of Hatred expansion. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you've played Diablo 4 recently, are you addicted? Let me know. And as always, like the video, subscribe as always, and this has been It's Jimbo, and I'll see you guys next time.